Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Just want to say welcome to episode 675 and counting of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. In short, just call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. With my co-host today, we have Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew, as Mike is still on assignment. We're filming from our home studios in Signal Live, the Case-Ways 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Fame, multi-Hall of Famer that is, and beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that, let's bring on Charles and Mike and see how they're doing today. Let me start with you, Charles. How's it going today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. Get a little quick breather here before everything kicks off next month. So enjoying this time before the next few months. It is all a foot on the pedal for football. So.
Yeah, it's going to get there. You even got folks already trying to find out, talk. Got HBCU, a sports rap, A.D. Drew, talking about the rivals and qualifying it with Days and the other folks.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
More excited about your rival talk. They decided to bar it. And you got Joshua Sims.
We got to talk about that.
You folks out here cutting videos, talking about the difference between the Miak and Swag going to church, whether it's gospel or not. So that was interesting. We might even share some love to them on Thursday and go a little more detail and play it for the folks that hadn't caught it yet. But I don't visit Twitter that often. You see, I don't even use it in my clothes there, but I still have an account. Don't put a lot of updates for a lot of other reasons. But I am in the HBCU nightly group text over there, and a lot of good discussion. And I came across what used to be the HBCU hour, and Joshua and Banks were doing their things. And as I told you, they popped it up and did the testing. You had somebody on there that had posted a video talking about, yeah, I'm just wondering which church they talking about. Boy, it's taking off, so it's fun. Good conversation. With that being said, today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational consulting, and data analytics. With that being said, Drew, let me ask you how you doing today.
Unfortunately, Sports Rap wasn't the only entity out there that had some of their content repackaged and turned into a show for somebody else. But we're going to leave that discussion out there. That's going to be for y'all to figure out who that is. So imitation is the best form of flattery, Dr. Cavil. But y'all hear that? Is that the quiet before the storm? Or are we putting the babies to bed? It's been quiet this week. Well, on the sports wise, sidebar. I hope whatever they got going on across the water is solved.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we need a lot of prayers and a lot of things beyond our control to help us in this situation. Every day it just seems like another leap in a twilight zone is the best way I could pick it up for those that grew up when that was a popular show, because it seems like we're living in it. That being said, Let me ask you, Charles, how you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Like I said, we have this calm before the storm, if you will, with regards to football. But I'm going to enjoy these next few weeks, and then we up and going.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. I agree with you, Drew. How are you doing today?
Man, we just maintaining, trying to make sure that I've only got one request this year, or at least for the next 3 months, that my AC continues to work in my house.
Hey,
It was
I'm a second that, Charles. You can third.
I was about to say, and the oven hadn't even turned on yet here in Houston, so it's
oven. Oh, that's a cuss word in my house from May to September.
And let me give credit to do. That was No Chill Sports when I was talking about what's going on out there in the social media world, as they brought it, as I said, with Joshua Sims and Banks. Boy, there's some character. There's some character. With that being said, let's get into some of the news. We're gonna spread this out because while it's quiet in terms of sporting context, there's a lot of news going on. So we'll take some deeper dives and take some time to get in some of this news and talk about it. And then the last half of the show, we're going to get into In Class with Dr. Cavil. We're going to open it up. Y'all have a chance to ask some questions. So we'll look the lab listeners get in there and ask their questions, hot takes, things that they want to answer, and we'll see what we can provide them. And we'll even give Charles and AD Drew. I know they got some things on their mind when we get a session to really talk about from a business perspective. We'll get a little bit of that. So get your questions out there, your thoughts on what's hot, what's concerning you, and what direction you want to go. We'll do that in the second half of the show. So hold on to it before you post them. Make sure we catch them. But if you want to get them out there now, we'll do that as well. So, Charles, where do you want to start with some news of the day?
Well, let me start. Personal point of privilege here. I want to say congratulations to my guy, Earl Sanders. Earl Sanders, and this comes to us, of course, from Travis Jerome, go JSUTigers.com. But Earl Sanders was 21 standouts will be inducted as part of the 2025 class of the College Baseball Hall of Fame. The class is comprised of players, coaches, and other builders of the game, all who have positively impacted college baseball, including former Jackson State player Earl Sanders. Sanders started Jackson State for 3 years before he was drafted in the first round of the 1986 Major League Baseball draft by the Toronto Blue Jays. When you take a look at when he was there at Jackson State, he was a SWAC hitter of the year and pitcher of the year. Before he was drafted, Sanders hit .432 with 17 home runs and 60 RBIs in 1986, leading the team to the NCAA regionals hosted by LSU and the SWAC championship. And I want to say this. For a young kid growing up in Jackson during that time, when you start talking about Jackson baseball around that time, Earl Sanders did not take a backseat to anybody. And you take a look at that time around Jackson in the early 80s, you had the Jackson Mets, who were the Texas League champions. A lot of those guys that were on the 84 Mets team that won the AA championship, they later played in the 1986 World Series. When you talk about Lenny Dykstra and those guys like that, got a chance to see Darryl Strawberry come through Jackson as well. But Earl Sanders, during that time, Jackson State baseball, Julius McDougal, all those guys, Wes Chamberlain, tremendous baseball teams. And I told Earl this, he doesn't know it, but I would go down there and mimic him when he'd be warming up down there in the bullpen. And when you're an 11, 12-year-old, kind of in that last stages of hero worship, Earl Sanders was my guy. So I definitely want to say congratulations to him. I got an opportunity to talk to him today. So he's really excited about it. Still said it hadn't hit him yet, but you talk about one of the true class acts, head coach over there at Tougaloo, in terms of what he's doing over there, but one of the greatest Jackson State baseball players ever.
Great commentary and way to tie it in terms of going back in the day, in terms of where you fell in love with baseball, I'm sure in a lot of ways, still to this day. I also want to take a little privilege connected with that and give a shout out to Jay Sokol, Black College Nines, founder there in terms of website. AD Drew has done some columnist work for him down in that area. We've all been connected with them, particular in terms of HBCU Pro Sports Media, and beyond that. in terms of giving myself and you, Charles, the opportunity to vote. I can say that I supported that induction in terms of with the vote with a lot of those folks that were on that ballot that went out. So over the years, we get a chance to put in the work, and oftentimes it gives us a position to provide our thoughts and comments, and from a voting perspective, with those that respect what we've done and how long we've been in the business. So one of the greatest accolades, and when you have a chance to do that. So I want to share some personal accolades with Jay Soko, among others that have given me a chance to vote, whether it's FCS All-Americans, conferences status, and things of that nature over the years. Appreciate another opportunity to share and do that research. With that being said, Drew, what direction are you going with some HBCU news of the week?
This is on our script, but I'm not going to do it verbatim like we have it on our script. But SSU Ram Nation triggered my memory on this one.
Uh-oh.
And that's the rumors of the CIAA. Well, I won't say rumors, the reports that the CIAA is considering bringing baseball back as a conference.
I like that.
Conference sponsored sport. This has been reported over multiple outlets, so I don't want to single one outlet out over the other. But I do have to kind of put this out there. There have been some inconsistencies in the reporting and some things that may not be 100% correct in the reporting. So I think I'll just like take a few moments to kind of point out a couple of things. Right now, there are 4 CIAA institutions that play baseball. That being Bluefield State, that being Claflin, that being Virginia State, and that being Lincoln of Pennsylvania. A lot of people leave Bluefield off of that list because Bluefield being the newest member into the CIAA. So they are 2 members short of getting it sanctioned, because you have to have at least 6 in order to have it sanctioned as a conference sport, in which your conference winner gets an automatic bid to its respective term. So CIAA.
When you say sanction, that's NCAA sanction. They can still do it as a conference, right?
Right, but your conference champion will not get an automatic bid. It'd be just as if they were competing for as an independent. It's good for scheduling purposes that the conference is controlling that, but to get it where you get your automatic bid, you have to have 6. So we're 2 institutions short for the CIAA.
Right, and I think you're really important to have that note. But even for scheduling, you still can crown a champion.
Yes, you can. They just won't receive an honor.
They just won't. Yes. All right. Go ahead.
A couple other things in some of the articles. Like, I just want to make sure that I have them scheduled, because our job is to make sure we have the most educated listeners out there, Dr. Cavil. Keep in mind, there are currently 3 conferences, HBCU conferences, that sponsor baseball. Currently, we have the SWAC on the Division I level. We have the SIAC on the Division II level. And we have the HBCU AC, once again, since they're the new kids on the block, a lot of people forget them, on the NAIA level. So we have one conference on all 3 levels. And last thing, to my knowledge, 2017 was the last year that the CIAA competed with baseball, sponsoring baseball, not 2018. So just a couple of things that I wanted to point out and make sure that our listeners have full knowledge and the entire picture as they consider this. Especially, I know Ram Nation over there definitely wants to see Winston get baseball back, because Winston had a decent baseball program. If I go back into my Wayback Machine once upon a time. So, we could get into the business side of it in a different segment if we choose, Dr. Cavil. But right now, I just wanted to make this about education right now, as far as informing our listeners of some of the discrepancies in the articles.
It's a really good update and really important when you talk about, as we get into our stuff, the business of the business of sports, specifically as we like to talk on here, the business of HBCU sports, understanding the parameters and framework are really important. So WSSU, Ram Nation, is providing some updates, is that the president's chancellors did agree to bringing it back. And again, that's a conference championship in terms of what that looks like. So a lot of good information out there. With that being said, let's take our first break, come back on the other side, jump into a little bit more mood. There's some more news out there. We do have the HBCU Swingman Classic coming out. So you got a lot of folks that are getting their invitation to that. So we might go in that direction. Or we'll see if these gentlemen want to provide some other direction. They want to go with some news that's on their mind. It is their opportunity to share what is hot and their perspective of what's out there. With that being said, let's take our first break and come right back on the other side. Before we do that, we don't have a facility. We're renting a local minor league facility.
That was the issue. That's the issue that a lot of our programs ran into. Ram Nation hit it on the head, Dr. Cavil.
Yep, that's a lot of costs when you don't have a facility already ready
Practice
to go.
and games.
Exactly. Let's take our first break, come back on the other side, and see what we have more in store for you.
Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Welcome back with Charles Bishop and AD Drew. With that being said, I'm gonna go right back to you, Charles. What other news has you excited this week in terms of the HBCU landscape? What has you stirring about
Yeah, no
in the
doubt.
hot sun of Houston, Texas.
And this comes to us from Jackson State Athletic, City of Mobile, honoring one of their great sports legends today. Official ribbon cutting ceremony for their Hall of Fame walk. And one of those people was former Jackson State Star and Pro Football Hall of Famer Robert Brazile. The Hall of Fame walk, located on the Riverwalk in front of the Mobile Convention Center, is a permanent installation honoring former Major League Baseball stars and Hall of Fame members Hank Aaron, Satchel Paige, Billy Williams, Ozzie Smith, Willie McCovey, and Robert Brazile. So it's a 6'9" tall statue of each that will line the front of the convention center. And they had a ribbon cutting today at 1:30. So kudos to Dr. Doom, Robert Brazile, as he has a statue out in front of the Mobile Convention Center.
Man, that's pretty wild. Dr. Doom statue. Looking good, looking good. You know, there's a thing going on with these statues. How does it look? Anybody grade the statue? You know, some people kind of
you know, it's good. You know, in terms of you get a helmet with a face mask, but they got the representation right with the neck roll and the 52. So it looks good to me. So.
All right, looks good. So if you say it looks good, it looks good.
Yes, it did.
Drew, what else is on your mind at this time?
Let's go back to the CIAA. And this is not as greatly well, should I say, former CIAA member.
Oh,
and
yeah.
how about St. Augustine's University? As this comes to you from HBCU Game Day, and we know when it comes to track and field on the Division II level, St. Augustine's is St. Augustine's on the D2 level is what A&T was on the Division I level, or what A&T still is on the Division I level. But also coming out of that meeting, Dr. Cavil, the CIAA Board of Governors voted not to extend the Raleigh-based HBCU's membership due to ongoing compliance and operational challenges. The decision removes St. Augustine's from the CIAA competition for the 25-26 academic year. The university did not field teams in football, volleyball, or softball this year, while it met the NCAA division minimum of sponsoring 10 sports. Question remains about its ability to meet scheduling and reporting requirements. So they will be an independent this year. They are last year they competed as an independent in women's cross country. Now that status will expand to all sports. Once again, the Falcons will not be eligible for CIAA standings or championship events during the suspension. The move leaves St. Augustine's without a home conference, and the schools can still play St. Augustine's, but it will not count towards their record.
Yeah, the good thing is just a suspension. Obviously, the fact that the suspension carried over is some concerns because that's 2 years in a row. The good news, why I'm saying that it's not an expulsion, where they were really concerned. So that suspension is fascinating when you think about that from that perspective. Let's see what Travis has out here about the statue. Statue is unreal in person. I encourage anyone who can get to Mobile, please do. Went down today and listened to the family members speak. Dr. Doom and Billy Williams speak as well. So good information, Travis Jerome, in terms of the statue, giving us some personal views in terms of the statue. He says it's impressive. So you said something about that neck roll, how it looked just from the picture. So to see it in person, it brings it alive. But great report there, Drew, in terms of that. Look, certainly wishing St. Augustine prayers in terms of being able to financially stay in a position where they can take care of the institution. I know a lot of concerns and problems there. And then later, even more so to be able to bring athletics in a position back where they can regain active membership in the CIAA. It's a lot of pain when we see our HBCU institutions going through that struggle. So I wanted to put that up there as well. Going back to you, Charles, a little bit here. Let you get your last news out, and I'll do the same with Drew before we take our next break and get into some question and answer sessions with Dr. Cavil myself, as they like to say, in class with Dr. Cavil. Let's go to class today.
No doubt. Let's take a look at it. This comes to us from HBCU Sports. One of the newer HBCU Classic football games is ready for year 2. The Frederick Douglass HBCU Classic, which debuted in 2024, has a date for its second annual game and announced the participating teams as Central State will return for its second Frederick Douglass Classic appearance. At the same time, their SIAC foe will beat Lane College, making their first appearance. And the game is set for September 27th at the Rochester Community Sports Complex in Rochester, New York. The Marauders played in the first game in 2024, losing to Albany State 28-7. Both teams will enter the game with new head coaches as Central State turns to veteran NFL defensive back and college assistant Tony Carter. In contrast, longtime assistant coach and former Jackson State standout Stanley Connor. He'll lead the Lane College Dragons. So we got a date and a team for the second annual Frederick Douglass Classic.
Frederick Douglass Classic. I really like that name. It would be interesting to see what do they have all framed in that classic. I'd love to get my hand on the game day book if they have it in there, if they're providing beyond what they have on the website. With that being said, Drew, last one before we take our second commercial and get into the second half of the show.
Well, Doc, we didn't quite make it to the June 30th deadline before we had some college.
That's what's going to happen. I knew it's coming. I tried to tell y'all.
This comes to us from HBCUsports.com. After 3 years in the Red River Athletic Conference, Xavier University of Louisiana, Zula, as they like to call down there, has announced it will be making a move to the Southern States Athletic Conference following the 25-26 athletic season. So that's basically 1 year from now. We are thrilled to welcome Xavier University of Louisiana as a full-time member of the SSAC beginning in 2026, said SSAC Commissioner Mike Hall. Zula joined the Red River Athletic Conference in the summer of 2021 after a 40-year stint in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, now HBCU Athletic Conference. Zula will be the third HBCU to lead the conference this time next year, along with Houston Tillotson and Paul Quinn, who would each leaving to join the HBCU AC. Before joining the SSAC as a full-time member, Zula will compete in the conference as an affiliate member in competitive cheer and men's and women's indoor track. So, Dr. Cavil, who's left in the Red River now?
It's only a few HBCUs left over there. I don't
think anybody's going to be left after next year. Or maybe
you got Jarvis. You still got Jarvis.
Okay.
And Texas College, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
Because you're right. Wiley had left 2 years ago.
Paul Quinn's leaving.
And Paul Quinn, we heard the announcement about a month ago in terms of Paul Quinn and Houston Tillotson. Now you have the announcement of Xavier that had just went over there. And which I'm interested in that move from the perspective that I could see an argument of going to the Red River Athletic Conference with so many HBCUs over there, but also as a Catholic school, you're in Texas, with them having a school to be able to play in Houston, a huge Catholic population. Dallas, not as large a Catholic population, but still prominent. And you had San Antonio. So I can see where you would have alums in those cities, particular Houston and Dallas. And there was a reason to reach out to those alums and being able to keep them engaged. But in the Southern Conference, I thought that was interesting. I know their previous HBCU in that conference is Stillman. They left.
Stillman and Talladega left. I thought one of the reasons Xavier moved to the Southern States because they get a lot of students from Texas that come to New Orleans to go to school.
Dallas
and with Houston, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, I thought that was part of the reason for that move to kind of increase their student base. You still have a crosstown rival, believe it or not, as they enter the Southern States Athletic Conference. Not an HBCU, but Loyola of Louisiana is in New Orleans also. So they still have a conference rival in town. The travel is a little bit different. Southern State Athletic Conference is Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and into Georgia. So
that's wild. I know a lot of folks not into that, but I get
actually,
into
and it goes as far north as into Tennessee. Now I know some schools have been shifting around. They may not go into Tennessee anymore because the school in Tennessee was looking at moving up to Division II. I know a school in Georgia is moving up to Division II, also out of that Southern States Athletic Conference. And if anybody's wondering why I'm so familiar with this conference, it's because the institution I used to work for was a member of that conference. So I've got a lot of background on that particular conference. And no, just like when y'all ask me about Morehouse questions, there's certain stuff I would not say on the air. I just want to get that out there.
Good stuff. Let's take our next break, but I'm fascinated with that move, boy. I tell you, one thing I will say, it lets you know how much a different AD can influence their ability to make moves, because this is a different AD that made the first move. They went over the Red River versus the ADs that were in that time GCAC or the HBCU AC. So it tells you a lot there. With that, let's take our next break and come back on the other side and see if we can get some questions. Looks like Charles has some thoughts on his mind that he wants to get out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The lightning is like here in my face. That's why I keep kind of jumping. So.
Yeah. Well, be mindful. We understand. We'll keep you safe. It ain't coming this way, so keep it over there.
As you can hear the thunder out
Although I will have to be driving through it. So.
Right.
With that being said, we'll take our next break and come back on the other side.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and AD Drew, getting back into it. So you can start your questions out here and we'll bring them up there. But with that being said, Charles is trying to stay safe and make sure he doesn't get too distracted by the weather out there.
Yeah, I can't hide it. When that light flashed out there.
It's like, ooh, that was loud.
Yeah.
That was right.
Did y'all hear that?
Exactly.
Say,
if I go dark over here, you know why.
Exactly. It's like, oh, they got him.
Yeah.
Don't even try to call.
Yeah, with that being said, Charles, let's get into some discussion in terms of that. One part we can kind of start out with some of that discussion is the news, and we discussed it that Baltimore would get it, but it's been official now that CIAA secures partnership with Baltimore as the host city of men's and women's basketball tournament through 2029. City has obviously went all in terms of making sure they put their best foot forward. You got quotes from the governor. How many times do you have a tournament come to a city where not only you get the mayor of a city obviously providing comments, but a governor of a state? And I'll read that quote. Quote, "We are incredibly grateful for the university president's chancellors for choosing to extend the CIAA tournament run in Baltimore through 2029, said Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Quote, CIAA is more than a basketball tournament. It is a cultural institution that celebrates excellence in education, community, and athletics. In the past 3 years, the CIAA tournament has generated $109 million in total economic impact for Baltimore, and its continued presence will not only boost our economy, but also advance our shared commitment to equity, opportunity for all Marylanders," end quote. So fascinating. They also have a partnership with Under Armour. The CIAA has also renewed its partnership with Under Armour, which continues to provide high quality apparel and footwear for student athletes during tournament weeks and beyond. A proud Baltimore-based brand, Under Armour, long-standing support for CIAA reinforcements its commitment to empowering student athletes on and off the court. Quote by the CEO of Under Armour, Kevin Plank. Quote, "We are thrilled that the CIAA has extended our partnership through 2029, said Kevin Plank of Under Armour. Quote, "This collaboration goes far beyond the apparel. It represents shared values, community impact, and commitment to excellence through athletics. The energy that the CIAA basketball tournament brings to Baltimore is extraordinary. We're proud to support its continued growth. Together, we look forward to building an even brighter future for student athletes, fans, and our great city," end quote. I think it's powerful when you think about that from that perspective. You have the mayor, Mayor Brandon M. Scott. Quote, "We're beyond honored that the CIAA has chosen to continue to build a new legacy of Black excellence in Baltimore," end quote. Quote, "This tournament isn't just basketball games. It's a celebration of Black culture, Black history, and Black excellence. We're proud to serve as its home and welcome to the thousands of fans, alumni, and students who make it unforgettable every year, Baltimore during Black History Month," end quote. So much black in there. But in all seriousness, in terms of partnerships with corporations, the state, city, it's important, particularly when you put that on the backdrop of all the other energy that you've seen in another direction in terms of, particularly in terms, and I don't want to even put it out there because it's become such a negative framework, acronym in terms of what that is. But when people can lean in and talk about celebrating HBCU's Black culture in that framework, I think is important. Obviously, you can see the business part of the connection of why this is. But in sometimes these type of statements go beyond that and are larger statements in terms of what that looks like, particularly when you think about the backdrop of the Magic City Classic in a city where they looked like they were trying to pull some money from contractual agreement. What we can see makes no sense from this perspective. So I want to make sure we get a platitude that's necessary when things and groups and individuals, particular people in political positions, make statements on the value of HBCUs and the Black culture in itself. So I want to kind of start it out from that framework, but I'm gonna go to you, Charles. Any questions that you have that we need to discuss?
Well,
business of sports.
In terms of looking at that framework, are there components of the deal that Baltimore was able to secure with the CIAA, that other states and cities can look at and say, you know what, we need to borrow some of this language and borrow some of this framework to try to get, potential, HBCU competition to our city, to our state. Hello, Jackson.
I would say if they're smart, they would. I think in addition, it just makes business sense. But there are parts of this country you see now that literally will cut off their nose to spite their face. So the value of the dollar may not count there in terms of what that looks like. To give some more connotations to that, is the 2025, the tournament generated a total economic impact of $27.4 million. It had direct spending of $19.8 million during its 5-day run in Baltimore. The tournament supported 1,487 part-time and full-time jobs, generating $2.4 million in state and local taxes. So those are some direct dollars and things that you want to be able to, as you said, replicate, not necessarily the amount, but those statistics. So even if you're above that, for sure you want to put it out there. But even if you're below that slightly, the fact that you're able to pinpoint those type of numbers provides a different perspective in terms of you putting yourself in a position where you can replicate it, as you talked about. Just some more numbers are so important when we talk about the business side of sports, that we understand that the numbers put you in position. In addition to the total economic impact that the event had on area hotels, restaurants, and attractions to the city of Baltimore, State of Maryland Visit Baltimore and the local host committee made a $1.6 million donation to the CIAA General Scholarship Fund that supports the conference's 13 member institutions made up of HBCUs and its students. So putting your money where your mouth is directly is also important from that perspective. So great question in terms of understanding how do you look at things like this, put yourself in a position to take advantage of it, replicate it where possible, and certainly moving forward to getting your brand value out there. Eddie Drew, I'm going to go to you, see if there's a question that you want to put on the table, or do you want to comment on that before you put the question up?
Just kind of want to comment on that. It's interesting because the tournament has shifted from, in Charlotte, the party, where a lot of people concentrating on the non-athletic portion of it, to in Baltimore, where it looks like everybody is concentrating on the actual game. So I guess my question is kind of revolving around marketing, Dr. Cavil, and the marketing piece of this. I wish I was in Baltimore, and I guess maybe I get to see a little bit of Baltimore once again when I get up here for the MEAC next month. But I mean, how do you shift that culture with the marketing to that, so we're getting people in the event versus just people who are there just enjoying the ambiance of the event? And the reason I ask this is because what's one of our biggest complaints about our football game? We got people who show up to tailgate, but they don't come inside. So what is the CIAA doing right when it comes to this basketball event that we can bottle up and use for baseball and football and other events that we do?
I can share from my perspective. I went to the tournament 2 years ago in terms of getting a chance to put my eyes on what took place there. They have some of the outside ancillary things where you can enjoy different rides for different subsects of the community to get them involved. And you see that at some of the other tournaments, namely the MEAC as well as the SWAC. I've seen it before. But I think one of the things that I really appreciated by the CIAA was the diversity of things they had involved. And I think as you expand the HBCU culture, Black culture in general, you have so many different folks that come in so many different socioeconomic statuses that want to be a part of this. But you need to find a way to reach them in their spaces. So that's what I saw, is that there were different ways you could buy your tickets. in terms of enjoying what part of the basketball tournament you like, even in terms of bringing them inside. When you got into the stadium, there's still different social connection points, if you would, of what people would like to see. The vendors they have involved really make it entertainment. So you can tell folks come not only to see basketball, but to come into the vendor section to see what things they want to hold on to so they can bring it back and kind of show off to their friends or at work in different spaces in terms of showing them that they have a connection to the CIAA. Like they say, culture for life in terms of CIAA for life and those type of connection points. But also inside, you had different areas that allow folks to have their socialization. Those that just sat in chairs, in normal seats, those that had VIP sections. They had multiple different types of VIP sections, some high, some low, some right on the court, some on the back side of the court, some all over it in those areas. So I think those are one of the things that you want to be able to do is move past general admissions. We kind of talked about this last week versus from a ticket perspective of the cost differential based on what fan base you're bringing in, whether it is due to you having a new coach involved that may bring additional fanfare, or whether you bring in teams in that fans are more related to. But even beyond that, you need to find your entertainment dollar within the stadium that allows those different fans that even might want to party. You see this at the professional level. There's folks that don't just come to a basketball, football game just for the party. Some people like to socialize as they watch a game within the surrounding with friends. And so you need to find a way to put that out there. So you see that part of it. And we've seen a little bit of that with Jackson State with the prime era, if you allow me to look at that, in terms of having certain type of seats available for certain fans on the outside of the field, right? You had different ways that you could watch the game. So things of that nature, you had things that they still have at Jackson State now in terms of in the end zone, where they had areas where folks had different ways to kind of have their connections in terms of how they would view the game, how they would be serviced within the game. I think those are ways that you connect with folks that have different tastes about how they would like to watch a football, basketball game, or even baseball game for that matter, tournament or regular season contest. Let's take our last break and come back on the other side and see if we can get some more questions.
Got one in the chat. We'll have when we coming back.
Yeah, I saw somebody asking about Sugar Lock.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that as well. We'll be right back after the last break.
There's a shot.
It might be. It could be.
Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and AD Drew. As we get back into it, AD Drew, I'm gonna stay with you in terms of a follow-up question of the day, or as you said, there was one in the chat. Let's go there first, and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah. All right. This comes from Jeff Roberts. How are conferences planning to balance the number of sponsored sports and NIL funding?
Excellent question, Jeff. I think, as you probably heard, some folks concerned out there that some people will use the NIL funding requirement as a reason to eliminate some sports. From my perspective, I think they'll use it as an excuse. It's not really what they have to do. They'll have to be careful about the sports they eliminate. I think if they do eliminate some sports, you may see them come from the men's side versus the women's side, and there might be some times where they cut both sports. So look out for tennis. I think golf may be safe, but some place maybe do golf. But I think golf is probably going to be safe just because of the business aspect, and a lot of folks that will get in and make ties, and there's some revenue associated with how you can do that. You've seen a lot of folks bringing up their golf and doing simulations where you're getting support from that perspective of doing the golf simulations. And there's some connections you can do with your physical education, human performance, kinesiology, even sports studies courses. So it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like, but don't be surprised if you see some sports cut. Beyond that, I think what you're going to see, there was a report out there that you might have caught with North Carolina Central in terms of basketball, where they're increasing the number of their money games. I don't know this to be true directly, but you might see some of that where folks will increase money games on basketball or even on the football side so they can use that revenue to use that as NIL money while they maintain the sports that they have. The other thing that you see out there is a percentage gap. You see some of the more well-branded institutions talking about they're doing like a split where 60, 70, 75, some of even 80% of the money will go football. And then you have maybe a 15%, 20% going to basketball, men's and women's. And then, 5% going to Olympic sports, or maybe one other sport that is very popular. Some places hockey is, somewhat of a revenue generating, or baseball at some places maybe a revenue. So they may get 5%. So give and take some numbers there. I think you see a similar percentage breakdown at the HBCU level, maybe not as aggressive for football, where you'll see them maybe doing a 55-35, right? Split 10%, or maybe a 50-30, 10, 5-5 split among sports, if you would. You'll also see where there might be a distribution model where you rotate years, where you do NIL funding for these sports for year one, and then year two, you'll do different sports. So I think you'll see a balance. You'll see a mixture. You'll see unique practices at different HBCUs, even within conferences, and certainly throughout the two conferences in terms of what that looks like. And it'll be interesting to see, independent-wise, what you'll see out of the CIAA Colonial Athletic Association, now known as the Coastal Athletic Conference, with Hampton and A&T, and then obviously with Tennessee State in the OVC Big South Partnership. Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, what about bowling as one of these sports? Because and the reason I asked that one is because last time I checked, no one has a competitive bowling facility on their campus. So that's one of those sports that you have to lease everything for. No different than golf, because nobody has a golf course on their campus.
That's true.
No different than some of our baseball and softball teams have to do. So is bowling one of those sports? And obviously, because of the gender that we sponsor bowling in, you have to take a pause when you ask that question. But is that one we need?
I think it could be on the cut, particularly if it's not one of the more competitive sports at an institution. Bowling may be one that you have to look at and consider in terms of funding being taken away. And like you said, a lot of it is because of the rental costs of the facilities. But I think more of the cost would be the practice travel for those that have to go off campus sites. Some may have at least a bowling alley on campus where they can at least do practice, but certainly for your competitive events. But I think the cost in there is not as much as it looks like. So if you see folks doing that, I think it's more of I'll still say an excuse to eliminate the sport just because the AD on record doesn't see it as providing any more addition to the support. It'd be fascinating to see which ADs see this in the calculation, though. You know, there is financial rewards in terms of finishing at the top of the conference for the all sports trophy. You start cutting sports, you see that being more difficult. You've seen Brian get on his push to do the calculations for all sports differently in terms of maybe a percentage calculation, because it puts them in a better position, because it's harder for them to raise up the ranks, because FAMU doesn't offer all the sports that are available for the SWAC. So that's going to happen too. Those ADs that decide to cut those sports, especially if they are at least in the middle of the pack and getting points, they put themselves in a more challenging position to get the points for the overall sport. So it'll be interesting to see who values that. We've seen that some of these ADs put a higher value on being in position to win it. They like the fact that they can celebrate all sports. So good stuff. Go ahead.
I was going to say, my question for you, it has to do with one of our news stories today. We see that Xavier is moving conference. So from a business perspective, what is the cost of moving a conference? You know, when you look at the financials that you have to think about, what are some of the financial decisions that an institution would have to make before switching conferences? We know Bethune did it, FAMU did it, A&T did it, Hampton did it. You know, we've seen it on the lower levels. This is the second time in 5 years Xavier has done it. So what are some of those costs? You see your Texas NAIA institutions, done in Houston Tillotson and Paul Quinn. So what are some of those costs that we may not see on the surface? Because everybody knows that obviously your travel is going to change. That's the easy one. That's the that's one that sticks out as a sore thumb. But what are some of the other things that administrators would be considering?
The first one off the table is one that we don't necessarily think about, but to join the conference, most conferences are going to ask for a fee to come into the conference. A lot of folks don't realize that there's a fee to leave a conference. And oftentimes conferences will have certain deadlines. That's why we talk about the July 1st deadline. You see the fact that in the announcement of Xavier leaving, is for the 2026 season. Most conferences say that you have to give them a notification by July 1st to leave the following year. So if you try to leave earlier, oftentimes there's additional costs. Some conferences went to the point that they need a 2-year notification before you leave to get the lower costs. And if you do it in a year, there's still a higher cost to do it at that time. So that's the first level of cost. The other part that you want to look at is the cost of rebranding uniforms and how you did that in terms of your costs associated with a uniform. A lot of times now conferences require that your uniforms has the conference branded name on the uniform. So think about that. You have these different teams. Some people have 2-3 uniforms. Each of those uniforms need to be updated. So depending on how you did the adhesive to your uniforms, or if it was embroidered, is going to dictate a certain cost with that. That's a hidden cost that most people don't think about. Also, you have the cost of rebranding the signage on your facilities. Basketball court, oftentimes you have the logo of the conference on the floor. Some conferences will have signage. So taking it down, that's just general maintenance, but purchasing new, updated conference branding associated that. If you have it, baseball field, for those that do football fields, basketball, track and field. So any of your facilities have it. All the letterheads associated with your stationaries that has that. Updating of your website with the new stuff. All those are cost, man hours, if nothing else, in terms of updating those type of things. More the basic one, a lot of people are easy to catch on is, like you said, travel. What are your travel cost constraints and concerns? What does that look like? You moving in a conference where you can drive. What is your time to drive? Some people just look at mileage, but you really want to look at it in terms of whether you can bus, fly into it, how easy it is to fly into different cities associated with your conference affiliation, or things that you want to consider as some costs out there. So there are a lot of things that you want to look at in costs. And then there's the academic alignment, the cultural alignment that oftentimes folks want to look at, and how do you measure the costs associated with that in terms of maybe fans following you to come in, whether that's visiting fans or ancillary fans, depending on the city that you're at. So those are some costs there. Let me go to you, Charles, for the last question. We'll close it up and get into it in terms of what's on your mind. Seems like you survived a little bit of the weather thus far.
Yeah, thus far.
I want to make sure I get out of here for it so it's fall on me. So we'll make this.
A little bit of it is a fun question here. So, AD Drew, Morehouse schedules FAMU. Who do you root for? Since everybody on this screen has split allegiances.
Where am I working at?
I tell folks.
Who hits me up in my bank account once a month?
There it is.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of fans do that. One that I use often put out there is like, I don't lose anymore. Whoever wins, I'm a winner. That's what I like. As long as it's a great contest, I don't lose anymore. I'm always a winner, regardless.
Hey, I stand for both alma maters.
I had a t-shirt.
Literally do that job.
Yeah. I had a t-shirt when FAMU and Tuskegee played in Mobile made.
Nice.
And it was in both schools' colors. And at the top, it was orange and green. Two schools in crimson and gold. Two degrees. You know, and it was like a math equation. 2 schools plus 2 degrees. And then at the bottom had the equal sign, 0 regrets.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I gotta bring that. I gotta. You might have to rebrand that one, Charles.
And then on the back, I had both logos.
Logos.
With Tuskegee logo on the back. So
good one. Well, let's call it a show. Thank you for listening Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. the Dean of HBCU Sports from Inside the Lab College for HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. What was that statement there? I didn't catch you. Bring that back up. That was a pretty good one. Come on, dude. This is a safe space. Be honest.
Now, Charles, the question you should have asked me.
Don't do that,
Travis. Charles, the question you should have asked me is FAMU and Tuskegee. Since I don't work for either one of them, who do I root for?
Don't answer. Don't answer.
I know. I was about to say.
Don't answer.
You want to answer that one?
No, don't.
Hey,
Again,
show at 11.
Exactly. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with AD Drew and Charles Bishop every Tuesday, Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday. Look forward to Thursday as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattacavil on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Facebook and YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Drew?
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Have a light, everybody.